Arguably, Manson, I'm a little bit nervous with Tony and here and his wife.
Yeah.
I've been doing radio for a long time, Tony, but you're kind of, pretty special and VIP.
Well, I don't know about that, but it's good to be with you.
And I think, when was your first, by the way, Tony Dungy and his lovely wife, Lauren, I will tell you this, Tony, you need to bring your wife along on more interviews.
Well,
like maybe even NBC's football. You might want to bring Lauren up in the mix.
Well, thank you.
Have
Great to be here.
Lauren's picks or something like that. She's doing you good, Tony. I'll tell you that right now.
She is, yeah.
Tony, when did you get to Tampa?
We came in 1996.
All right, so I've already here
22 years ago.
22, and I think you guys have lived here as even when you were in Indianapolis, you had a home here, didn't you?
Yeah, we kept our home here, so we're back.
It's
and
tough.
This is our home.
It's tough to compare Indiana weather to Tampa.
Well, I didn't realize you knew about that, but once we got down here, we knew this was going to be home base. Yeah.
And Indiana, sometimes it gives you a false sense of security. Like October, November will be okay, but then it'll get you in April sometimes.
Yep.
Where did you guys live? Like North Carmel and that kind of area deal?
We did. That's exactly where we lived, in Carmel, Indiana.
As the head coach of the Colts, Tony, did you ever get to meet another really good friend of mine? Did you ever meet Larry Bird?
Yes. As a matter of fact, our boys went to school together at Park Tudor.
Connor.
Yeah,
I think
Connor and Eric were the same age. Yeah.
Larry Bird's brother was my roommate at Indiana State.
Is that right?
Jeff Bird.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
And every year we call Larry for his birthday, December 7th. And boy, Larry's a character, I'll tell you.
He is that. Yeah. No, we had some good times there.
He was the president of the Pacers, and you were the head coach of the Colts. You and Irsay still get along pretty well?
Very much so. Talked to Jim quite a bit, and they're excited this year. Andrew Luck back and hopefully healthy. He played last night, got hit a couple times and made it through, and so everybody's fired up. And if Andrew is healthy, they'll be a good team.
So we'll talk football a little bit, but we got Lauren here today.
Yep.
She could care less about football, quite frankly.
No, not exactly.
I don't know if that's true.
Lauren, do you get tired of football sometimes? Like, come on, Tony. Let's write another book or something. I can't take any more defensive schemes or anything like that, Tony. So you guys, this is actually your fourth children's book, I think, is it not?
No, actually, we've written 10 books in our first series. And now with this series, we've written 2, and we'll write 2 more.
Now, do you guys both write them?
We do. We collaborate and have written 2 stories, 2 children's books, and we're excited about them.
Austin Plays Fair is your latest, and you guys are going to be, I think, at Barnes & Noble's
We'll
today.
be at Barnes & Noble's tonight in Carrollwood,
Right.
and then tomorrow we'll be at Lifeway and Costco.
So it's I didn't know about the Saturday appearance.
Yes.
Now, within I wanted to pull up your website real fast because you guys have the Dungy Family Foundation.
Yes.
Yeah, that one, but Dungy.com is actually talks about the book.
Oh, so that's where I need to go.
TeamDungy.com.
TeamDungy.com.
Yeah.
Okay, so TeamDungy.com. That's where the books are.
You can find out where to get them and
All the details about what's going on.
Now, supposedly, Lauren, I think you guys within the Team Dungy book world, I think you guys on your books try to have diversified in different types of kids and different types of scenarios. And I think that, if I'm wrong, correct me, but you guys have, for your next book or your next series, you have a promotion going where a child, no matter where they live, can be the star or a character in your next book. Am I right on that?
That is correct. We have a promotion going on right now, and kids would love to be a character in our story. So if you go to teamdungy.com, parents can register their children, and we're going to draw a name, and that person, he or she, will be a character in our next story.
Now, Tony, I got to ask a few hard questions. And do you and Lauren ever fight over I don't want to put that in a book, Tony? Well, you're going to put it in a book, Tony. That's what we're doing. Does that ever go down, T?
She's the head coach when it comes to the book writing.
Are you the special teams coach, Tony?
Exactly. We work together, but she has the final say. No, that's not the way to say it. This
Are you just worried about kickoff return squad? That's all you're worried about, Tony? Tony and Lauren Dungy, and their newest book is called Austin Plays Fair.
And there's also another one, Bubba.
I didn't know about that.
Yes.
Maria Finds Courage. It's 2 that came out Tuesday, and we're pretty
through Amazon and all the places people conventionally buy
They can
books.
get them Amazon or in the local bookstores.
So, Tony, how hard is it to? I know that you're a New York Times bestseller as well. Your first book, you've had, is it 4 books, and then you had a paperback?
4 adult books, yeah.
And I think number 1 on a couple of them, top 10 on all of them. And I was actually approached, and I got some meetings about doing a book. But how hard is it to do a book? I don't know if I can sit down and actually write it. How does it go?
Well, Our adult books, we actually had a friend of ours, Nathan Whitaker, who kind of did the writing. We dictated and come up with the ideas and talk through it, and he'd write and we'd edit. And
So you like tell him like, okay, then when I was in Kansas City once, this, and
exactly,
so you
this
kind of
what
tell him a
happened.
story,
Yep.
and then he writes it, and then you're like,
Yeah.
well, a little more of this, a little less
exactly.
of that.
It's a process. So you can get help through that. But actually, doing the children's books is tougher because you only have 32 pages. You've got to use a certain vocabulary. You've got to target audience. So what can we say? And that's where Lauren has come through, being a former
you're dealing
teacher.
usually deal with grown men doing schematics, and she knows what the kids may want a little bit
how
more.
they
Tony
can relate. Yeah.
Tony, what's been your most difficult head coaching? I mean, out of the 2 head coaching situations you had, which one was the most difficult for you?
Coming to Tampa was, Bubba. 13 straight losing seasons when we came. And so you're really trying to change the culture and get guys to think like winners, get the community back behind the team, get them feeling good.
And it
about
was your
the team.
first one, too.
First one. So you're not as experienced. You think you know.
When you rolled into Indy, you were a hired gun at that point, right? I mean, you're a hired gun because you had some tough lifting in Tampa early on.
It was, but I'll tell you what, we had a good group of guys, and even though I hadn't been established, hadn't been a head coach before, I talked about the things we wanted to do. And we wanted to do some things off the field and character and community and that, and the guys bought into it, and it was great.
Tony Dungy and his wife Lauren in the studio today. Their new book. Well, the one is called Austin Plays Fair, and the other one is
Maria Finds Courage.
Maria Finds Courage. It's available in stores now. They have a in-store tonight at Barnes and Nobles, and then one tomorrow night at Lighthouse.
Lifeway.
I always mess that up.
Lifeway.
They didn't write that down, so I'll mess it up a million times.
Lifeway and Costco tomorrow afternoon and evening.
Tony, of all the guys that ever played for you, who was the toughest? Like, not necessarily like would it be a Hardy Nickerson? Would it be a Ty J.
toughest?
Like the one guy that like everybody in the locker room. The one thing we know Ty J real well. We know Warren, and the one thing that they say about you, Tony, is Tony didn't mess with the locker room. He knew the guys ran the locker room to a point. If Tony had to come in and, but Tony let the guys kind of run the locker room. So within the locker room culture, who's the one guy like I thought Ty J was always pretty tough. A lot of people say Ty J's a tough guy. Like just overall grit.
Ty J was tough and gritty. Hardy Nickerson was gritty, but believe it or not, Paul Gruber might have been the guy who had the
big
most
left tackle.
Cachet, and no, Paul didn't get upset very much, but nobody messed with Paul.
Big too, from University of Wisconsin, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Question for you: if you had to pick a quarterback, Peyton Manning, Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, or Tom Brady, you're prepared now. Not all at 40, but like in their prime.
Yeah, no, I'm taking Peyton Manning
all day
every time. Yeah, and I love the mobile quarterbacks, and Aaron Rodgers gave us fits moving around. John Elway gave me fits, but Peyton Manning, day in, day out, leadership, orchestrating the game, off the field, in the community. He was tremendous leader, tremendous team.
Smart too, wasn't he?
Very smart. Yeah.
How about that Omaha phenomenon? A couple of years ago when he did the Omaha deal. Tony, did you have the Omaha check off?
We knew what Omaha was, and sometimes it meant something, sometimes it didn't.
So would you establish like in game planning? Okay, Omaha may mean this week, but next week it'd be this.
Mean something
so
else.
the team couldn't check down on you. Is there a lot of that goes on, Tony? A lot of like, and I'm not, saying Belichick or anything, but like a lot of like team secrets and people just trying to get an edge.
No, you have to try to stay one step ahead and change things up. And hey, we're going to do this week. We're going to make it look like this next week, but it's actually going to be something different. And they're scouting you, so you have to try to stay one step ahead.
That Tampa 2 though was tough. I mean, the Tampa 2, Tony. I mean. Was that like kind of like your brainchild through all the people that you worked with, through the Chuck Knowles and through your Kansas City days? Is that what the Tampa with Monty?
Started out in Pittsburgh,
right?
With the Steelers. That's what Coach Knowles really played. That's where I learned it. We went to Minnesota. I became the defensive coordinator. Monty Kiffin was the linebacker coach. We kind of tweaked it, and then when we came down here, we just had the perfect personnel for it. Derek was already here. Warren Sapp, John Lynch, Hardy Nickerson,
all those heavy hitters.
They were
Derek
here.
Brooks.
So it was perfect, and it kind of took off down here. But it was 25 years old when we got here.
I forgot, Tony, you were here when you guys had to smell jet fuel for practice, were you not?
Right on that.
How bad was that, T? How bad was it?
The old $1 place, and the planes flying over. We didn't have to pipe in crowd noise
No.
for practice because the planes did it
And
for
the
us.
jet fuel, and then the weights outside were all rusty, and the guys had to, I think Darren Kearns and my guys used to have to go and have to sandpaper the weights down because they would get all rusty
But
and
you
stuff.
know, it was good for us because we said, hey, our philosophy, our sign in the locker room, no excuses, no explanations. So, hey, we won't worry about the jets. We won't worry about the small facility, guys sharing lockers. It doesn't matter. We've got to get the job done, and that's the attitude the guys had.
Tony and Lauren Dungy in the studio today. They got a series of new children's books. You can always go to teamdungy.com to find out where the latest. You can also, if your child or
Bubba, we'll have you in the book.
No, Tony. Let's just draw a line there, buddy. Let's just draw a line there, Tony. Okay, we can be buddies. I'd love to be your buddy.
Everybody needs a villain.
Yeah, well, I can be the bad. You can be bad guy Bubba on there. You can make me. You can make me the bad guy, Tony. So, Tony, let me tell you, how was it like to play on the 78, 77, 78 Steelers? One of the, Mean Joe Green, Lynn Swann, Stallworth, Bradshaw, Franco Harris. Who was Rocky Blyer?
Yeah.
Was that the fullback?
Yeah.
God, what a legendary team.
No, I got there in 77. They had won 2 Super Bowls already. I'd watched these guys in high school and college, and then you're in the locker room, and all of a sudden you're out there with them. It was pretty unique. But that's where I learned my philosophy, and Chuck Noll was a unique guy to play for. With all those star players, we had 9 Hall of Famers. His whole mantra was, we've got to be together, we've got to win as a team. And he also said, don't put everything into football. Don't make football your entire life. And we had guys who did a lot of things off the field, were involved in the community. Franco used to ride his bike to practice every day, right through the neighborhood, coming to the stadium. People loved him because he was one of the people of the community. And I think I learned that and got that lesson more than anything else.
Well, you do it so well, Tony. Then you go on to, I think, San Fran in 79.
Yes.
And now who was...
Played for Bill Walsh. It was his first year as the head coach, and I learned how to build a championship team because we struggled. We only won 2 games that year.
Tony, would you say, Tony Dungy and his wife Lauren in the studio today, Tony, would you say that maybe of all the people that have touched your life, whether it be through coaching or playing, that maybe Bill Walsh might be the all-time greatest? I mean, just the down tree of people that came from the Bill Walsh either system or assistant.
Yeah, he had a lot of assistants that came after him, and he made some impact. But for me, it was Chuck Noll. I mean, I played for him for 2 years, worked for him for 8 more as an assistant coach, and that's where I learned my philosophy from, and he was tremendous.
So Tony, how much strain does the football night in America, as highly produced as it is, and if it looks that slick and it is that slick, that means that it really there's a lot of prep and there's a lot of what day do you have to be up there, and does that put a damper on all your kids and your wife and your philanthropic things and your books? I mean, that slickly produced TV takes 3-4 days, doesn't it?
It does, but I'm only up there. We go up Saturday night. And
Wednesday, I'm like, Tony.
No. We go up Saturday night, and I come back Monday morning. We do a lot of work from home, conference calls and teleconferencing and things. So NBC's been good, but maybe I should let Lauren answer that, as to how much stress it puts on the family.
Yeah, Lauren, I mean, because he's gone virtually almost, it's probably 3 days with travel almost.
Well, the schedule is not as grueling now. It's great to have him home more often. Of course, he's involved in a lot of projects in the Tampa area, so he's just as busy, just different.
Yeah, Tony,
venues.
you need to settle.
It's hard for him to sit still.
You're busier now, Tony, than when you used to game plan
so.
back in the day, Tony.
Sometimes it is, and then Lauren and I, we go on Tuesdays and we read in elementary schools. It's something that we love to do. It's been a great way for us to get out and give back to the community together.
I actually got a video of, I think this is from your Family Foundation page, where you guys talk about every Tuesday. No matter, Tony, you're always home on Tuesday so that you and your wife can go and give books and read books to kids. And I think here's a little piece right here. Hold on.
We're really excited about the reading program that we have established. We live in Tampa. Every Tuesday, we go to Title I schools in the area. We read books, and we meet with the children. We talk, we laugh, we have a good time, but we're trying to encourage them to read and to develop an appreciation for reading. And then we give them books before we leave. And often those books are the first or the only books that they have for themselves to enjoy.
So, Lauren, let me ask you a question. Are you finding out in the day and age of the electronic, media and phones and things like that, that we've gotten away from traditional hard book reading. And I think that is very necessary in developing various skills for kids. And it looks like you and Tony now are trying to bring some of that old school book mentality back and make sure the kids actually have a physical book to take home.
Yeah, that is correct. There's so many distractions, if you will, that kids really don't read like they used to. And reading now is something that kids do when they're punished. They've done something wrong, and so now they have to go read a book. But we really think that reading is important. It's crucial to developing skills that you'll use for the rest of your life. So we really want to encourage reading. And so that's one of the reasons why we wrote the 2 children's books. And we hope that kids will just rediscover that passion for reading and just fall in love with storytelling and enjoying life lessons that come from reading books.
Now, I got to tell you, you two are I almost feel like you guys are so perfect.
I mean, say that.
Well, no, but I'm just saying, you guys do all types of philanthropic things. You guys are very involved in your church, and you guys are involved in the school and things like that. And I mean, the ultimate epitome, like as far as of a celebrity or a person that gives back to their community, is you, Tony. Now I'm going to ask Tony, have you ever thought about being a politician? Because you would, everybody would want you to be a politician.
No, I have thought about it, and absolutely not.
None, zero.
Yeah, but no, we feel like God has blessed us, given us a great platform, given us the sports, and so we've got to use it to give back. But I was actually talking to Colin Powell. I was on a program with him, and I asked him I said, we need you to run for president. You've got some great ideas. He said, nope. He said, right now I can say something, and if it's a good idea, people will say that's a good idea. But if I run for president, automatically half the people will say it's bad before they even hear it, because that's the way our country is with politics. So we feel like we can give back to the community and get some things done better doing it this way.
Oh, you can give far more. You can be far more productive, Tony,
Yeah.
and you can do it your way and not be bought and paid for. Unfortunately, that seems like the way a little bit of the politician thing is going. I know you've heard of Grady Judd. You know, the famous sheriff from around here, Grady Judd, no nonsense Grady.
Yeah.
Well, everybody's been trying. Grady calls the show, a lot, and everybody's trying to get Grady to run for governor. And Grady says, I'm not running for governor because in Polk County I can do what I want and do it my way. When I go up there to governor,
Yeah.
I'm not going to be able to do it my way.
That's there's something to be said for that.
Don't forget, Tony and Lauren will be at Barnes & Noble in Carrollwood tonight. And then, Lauren, I'm going to let you tell us about the one on Saturday.
We're also going to be 2 stores on Saturday. We'll be at Lifeway, which is near Citrus Park Mall, and then we'll also be at Costco.
They got you guys working hard, do they not?
We are
They
enjoying every minute of it, so we hope you'll come out and check out our books and say hello to us. We'd love to see you.
Now, your children's books, usually you have obviously a message. And a lot of times, I think and if I'm wrong, correct me, but I think in 2008, you might have been your first book, your first series of children's book was based on Tony's younger brother, I think. Wasn't it, Tony?
That
Yes.
was the very first children's book. Yeah.
I think I got my facts right on that.
You're
Yeah,
on it.
you've
You're
done
on
your
it.
homework.
And I think his name was Lyndon.
Lyndon, you got it.
And it was
was
his
called
younger brother.
You Can Do It. He became a dentist, and he was looking for his life's passion, something Coach Noel always talked about, find your life's work. So we did that one. And then we did one
You Can
year
Be
or
a
two
Friend.
later, You Can Be a Friend, about a girl who moved into a new neighborhood, and she was in a wheelchair and struggled finding friendships. And so, yeah, always good messages.
So, Tony, obviously, I saw you guys on Fox and Friends, and they brought this up, and I was talking on my show earlier today that I really found your answer to the national anthem conundrum that we're involved in with the NFL. I found it really refreshing as to what you said on Fox and Friends, and I didn't blow it and say what you said. I was going to let you say it, here right now, but would you share your perspective on that? Because it's the biggest hot button going right now, and I just think it's very counterproductive.
It really is. This whole thing is so misunderstood. We've interviewed a lot of players who have demonstrated, who have protested, and people think, oh, these guys are anti-American, they're not patriotic, and that is the furthest thing from the truth. They are wanting to see their country be better. They're concerned about some things, and they wonder how they can get the message out, where their voice is. So they know right now that this national anthem is one time where they have a platform. And so my answer, if I was still coaching, I said on Fox, I would bring the players in. We'd have a meeting, first meeting of the year, hey, guys, tell me what your issues are, what the problems are. Tell me what your solutions are, what you think should be done. And let's do this. I'm going to give you 15 minutes of my press conference. We've got all the media in, all the TV stations.
Because you have
there,
a weekly,
the
because you have a
newspaper,
weekly press
conference
everybody's
as the
there.
head coach. Everybody's there.
Everybody's there.
National media. I'm going to give you 15 minutes to discuss what's going on, what your problems are. Let's use that time. Let's get your voice really out there so everybody can understand what you're concerned about. And that, to me, is a better way. And I think that's how the NFL should work with the players and not separately.
And it's not a knee-jerk reaction. It's
Right.
not. It's a give or take. It's actually it's a more powerful and bigger forum than what
Yes.
they're than what guys
And they
are
can
doing.
communicate. And
Right.
so people don't have to guess, well, what is he upset
Right,
about?
when a
What's
guy's
going on?
standing there kneeling, he doesn't have a way to explain what he's upset about.
Exactly.
Whereas if he has your last 15 minutes of your press conference, he can audibly talk to the press and say, well, I'm concerned about this and that and this.
Here's what happened in our community. This is what we're concerned about.
Tony, why
Here's-
doesn't Goodell call you up and let you come fix it?
I have tried to tell them that. And,
I mean, you a Hall of Famer. I mean, a guy. I mean, you have the most standing of anybody in this particular subject, right? I mean,
well, I don't know about that, but when the president, criticized the guys last year, to me, that's what the commissioner should have said, hey, I'm going to bring 10 or 12 team leaders in. Let's have a press conference.
Right.
Let's address it and talk about, hey, no, the president was wrong about this, this, and this. Here's why we're doing it. They would have had the whole country would have been focused on that. Guys could have gotten their message out. But instead, it seems like the owners have been over here. Well, what are we going to do? The players, what are we going to do? And the National Football League should work together.
And honestly, Tony, what coach wouldn't want to give 15 minutes away because you're on the hot spot there and you're like, man, I want to get out of here.
Yeah.
You guys are
Instead of
sharking on me.
Bubba asking a question and saying, hey, when is this game? When are you going to put this guy in the game? It would be
Instead of explaining why you got beat 14-0
Exactly.
and how your special team sucked, you'd be like, listen, I'm going to give the last 15 minutes to my ball players who have some concerns about some stuff,
Yep,
and it's
exactly.
going to be in a controlled environment.
Yep.
But it just seems like it seems like in this particular area, everybody's afraid to tell the other one and to really have a particular hard stance on this and without not really any type of resolve. Whereas if
And
all
not
30
communicating,
No.
not really understanding what the issues are.
Jerry Jones has a hard policy, but looks like the Miami Dolphins last night, then, they don't have a policy. I think the guy from the Carolinas said he would pay the fines. And so, I mean, there's so
Yep.
many mixed bags of messages that nobody can, and you can't police 20 policies. I mean, I don't know. I think that if a guy has the NFL logo on his jersey and he's representing the league and that team, that he can have a far better forum to protest that. I think like what you said, I think you can pick and choose the places that you do it and be more effective than doing it that way, where you're leaving there's so much room of interpretation as to what you're really protesting.
And the NFL, instead of saying you can't use this platform of the national anthem, okay, the better way to do it, in my opinion, would be to say, let's try to give you a better platform. Let's give you a more open space. And here's when you can do it. You want to get your point across. Here's 15 minutes where you can talk rather than 3 minutes where you don't get to say anything.
And Tony, the NFL now has its own network. They could actually
They absolutely could.
fold this into
They absolutely
a player. A player. They obviously have a players union, but you have a group or a subcommittee of things that the players are concerned about, and you put that on the network in a controlled, professional, thought out, forum, and more stuff gets done that way.
Yeah, one of our shows last year on Football Night in America, I went out to Miami and I did a piece on the two guys, Michael Thomas and Kenny Stills. And we talked about, we showed them and what they did in kneeling for the national anthem, but we showed their directives down in Miami, the ride-alongs that they had, introducing the policemen in the neighborhood, the community forums, and the police officers saying, hey, this was a help. We're making progress. Nobody sees that side of it because all they focus on, well, here's two guys kneeling during the national anthem, but they don't know what they're doing to try to be a solution.
Right, because when you're kneeling there, you can't tell the community what you're mad about. But if you get Tony's last 15
or
minutes,
what you're doing, to make it better. And we said, hey, anybody that wants to talk, we'll give you 5 minutes on Football Night in America. And we got the Philadelphia Eagles, but not many other teams took us up on it.
How cool is Dan Patrick, Tony?
Dan is a good guy.
A radio guy, too.
Yeah, we're going to miss him. He's going full-time radio.
Oh, he is?
Yeah, he's
what an
concentrating
idiot.
on his show. Mike
you got to stay on TV, Tony.
I know. Mike Tirico is going to be our host this year, and we're going to miss Dan, but he's a great
Mike,
guy.
Though. I like
Mike's
Mike, but
tremendous.
Dan Patrick is so talented. Tony, you're going to get – I think they elected you for the Ring of Honor.
Yeah,
for
exciting.
the Buccaneer deal.
September 24th. It's a Monday night game, and ironically, Pittsburgh Steelers are the opponents, so I'll have all my Pittsburgh.
Who are you going to be rooting for, Tony? Don't lie.
Oh, you know what? It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough because of my Pittsburgh roots. But that night, definitely Buccaneers, and we're excited. We're going to have a lot of family members. The Bucs were tremendous. They invited every staff person, every coach, every player that was here during my 6 years back. And so we're going to have a big reunion, a ton of family people, friends, and it should be a great night.
Football Night in America, you know, the matchup happens to be Bucs at Colts. Who does Tony Dungy lean towards? Lauren, no, let me ask Lauren. Lauren, who do you lean towards? Bucs versus Colts in Indy. Who does Lauren Dungy?
Got to go with the Buccaneers. Go with the hometown.
You got to go with the home team, don't you?
Absolutely. Show my loyalty.
How about
to the
you,
Bucs.
T? How about you, T?
I'm pleading the fifth and staying right down the middle.
How about I think you were a guy that gave Tony Mandrich a chance. Did you not?
No, he was before me.
He was
actually before me, yeah.
Do you know my favorite team, Tony?
Favorite team of all time?
No, my favorite team. Green Bay Packers.
Really? Now, why would that be?
Well, I grew up in Indiana before the Colts came.
Yeah.
And my dad was from Baraboo, Wisconsin.
Okay.
And you know how when you grow up, you kind of get indoctrinated into what your dad likes.
Yes.
And so I was a Milwaukee Brewer baseball fan and a Green Bay Packer fan. But this is back in the, John Hadel, David Whitehurst days.
Where they were struggling a little
they were
bit.
horrible. And then Bart came in and tried to save him, and he couldn't. It was fresh start with Bart. Then Forrest Gregg came in.
But, it's interesting you say that because when I got fired by the Buccaneers, and Lauren will remember this, Jim Irsay, the Colts owner, left a message on my voicemail, and I played it for Lauren. We listened, and one of the things he said is, hey, we're here in Indianapolis, but we've had a ton of people who didn't grow up with the team. They're rooting for other teams because there was no one here. We've got to connect with that community. We've got to get these young people to be Colts
everybody was
fans
either Bears or Bengals or Rams fans, or maybe a Detroit Lion guy if you're up north. But Indiana didn't have a team, and then when they did, so Irsay was right. So they needed a guy like you to kind of come in and pull the guy from Kokomo who's rooting for the Bears to be a Colts fan.
His exact words.
How I actually cried because I'm a big-time Packer fan when Jerry Kramer finally got and it was
so
just unbelievable.
It was a great feeling, and we had Terrell Owens. He's upset because he only got in on the third ballot. He thought he should have been on the first ballot. Jerry Kramer was 50 years waiting.
I know that was the biggest injustice.
His daughter presented him. And
Paul Hornung was there.
Yeah, Paul Hornung was there with a cane, and just so glad that Jerry got in. Robert Brazil from the Houston Oilers.
Right.
He had waited 29 years. His dad was presenting him, and he said, my dad's 86. I'm glad I got in while my dad was still alive. I mean, we had tears in our eyes with those two guys because they had waited so long, but it was really well overdue.
Did you ever think a kid growing up in Jackson, Michigan, would be in the Hall of Fame? 2016. I mean, that's pretty cool, Tony.
It was very cool, and never.
Did you cry, Tony? Did you cry?
I did.
I've never seen you cry.
I've cried a few times, but I was very thankful.
You're a real hard guy to get cry, aren't you, Tony?
It depends. It depends.
But did you cry in the Hall of Fame deal?
I did. I did. I thank the Lord. I mean, you pray for certain things. You think you're gonna, make it into the NFL. You dream about scoring the winning touchdown in the game or winning the Super Bowl. But that Hall of Fame experience and just what you're saying, that of all the people who have played and coached, you're one of 300 people to get that honor. It's just unbelievable.
I got a Mike Allstott story to end.
Okay.
To end it. So when we were on the radio back in the day, Tony, we were kind of smart alecky and we'd make songs and Tony, we're kind of like the abrasive. We're the guys show, and Warren was mad at me for a while, and it was just all craziness. And we used to. We had Dave Moore in here, and Dave would be
Dave's a great guy.
Oh, I love Dave. Dave Moore. And he would come in on Mondays when we were on 98 Rock, and we'd poke fun at Sean King, and we'd poke fun at everybody. Now, I never ever made fun of Hardy Nickerson because I was deathly afraid. I was deathly afraid. Ty J told me once, like, man, don't mess with Hardy.
Be careful with Hardy.
Don't mess with Hardy. So Ty J was my boy and all this kind of stuff. So we kind of always fun in Mike Allstott and stuff like this. So like about 4 years ago, we had this celebrity like Mike Allstott presents Wounded Warriors tag football game, and they had Jeff Garcia there.
Yeah.
And so we get invited there, our misfits. So we go there and we're like, hey, there's Mike Allstott over there. Should we go up and say hi to him? Because, we've talked some smack about him, and he still looks pretty thick. I mean, he's a big dude out of Purdue, And Manson's like, I don't know, man. I don't know. And this is completely comes from the Tony Dungy take the high road mantra, okay? And we don't have not always done that, Tony, but we're getting better at it. So I'm like, let's go over and just say hi to him and see what's happening. So Manson's like, there's no way he's gonna want to just say get out of here.
We used to kill him.
Oh yeah, I mean like back he was a caveman and Mike fumble ball.
Fumble ball.
We were just being funny, right, Tony? Like Mike fumble ball, oh fumble. We were just always making fun of him. So we're like, man, nothing's. So we walked up and I go, hey Mike, and we were on his team. They put us on his team. so we're like, hey Mike. He's like, oh hey Bubba, how you doing? I'm like, pretty good, buddy. How you doing? And he was the nicest
Absolutely.
guy.
Super nice.
And then I felt really bad. I'm like, you know what, Mike? I'm really sorry.
I've killed you for 15 years, and you're a nice guy.
The nicest guy ever. Plus, he's a lot thicker than I thought. He's a load.
But you talk about one of the great young men and just classy, and Tampa was his heart. I mean, he would do anything for this city and for the team. He was one of my favorite players of all time.
And the Buccaneers, the
and
Glazers.
Brad Culpepper was at that game shirtless, and all he did was run fly pattern.
Brad Culpepper looks like a wide receiver
one in the
now.
ball, I'm sure.
Oh yeah. Culpepper took his shirt off. Now there's a lot of guys who have some good bodies around there still.
He's not one of them.
Well, no,
right?
Tony, he's ripped.
He's lean.
Oh, now,
Yeah,
yes.
when he was playing for you at 279, not so much, but he's
Right.
like 180 now. It looks like a bodybuilder.
Yeah.
Garcia still looked good too. He can wing that ball.
Okay.
And so all Culpepper did was he had his shirt off and he would just run fly patterns.
Wanted to catch the ball.
Yeah, exactly. And Garcia wouldn't throw it to him. Garcia had a cannon on him.
I was always a big Jeff Garcia fan.
Did Jeff play
I
for
thought
you,
he got
Tony?
He was after me.
After you. Jeff
I thought he
Garcia.
got a raw deal. He's always getting traded.
Yeah, he was. Lauren and Tony Dungy in the studio. Tony, Coach, I got to tell you, I'm a little starstruck by you and your wife. And I would love to, if you ever have anything to promote or you're doing stuff locally, and I would like to maybe talk to your guys about my foundation, making a donation to your foundation so we can buy some books to give to the kids.
Well, that would be tremendous. We would graciously accept that. We all have a heart and a passion for reading. So thank you so much. We would welcome that opportunity.
And Lauren, I'm giving you permission now for zero compensation if you want to make the next bad guy in your book, Bubba. Bubba, that fat radio guy.
Now, you've got to register to do
Well,
that.
no, we
to
might
sign
put
up.
you in
can't
there even
just-
if you're
we're
not
gonna
in the
let you
contest.
He said,
easily.
Lauren, we got to put Bubba in there. He made a couple songs about me, the Humpty Dance. I got to put Bubba in there one day.
Yeah, no, you could be the villain in the next
Oh,
one.
yeah, exactly. Lauren and Tony, thank you so much. Let's give everybody a quick reminder as to where you're going to be tonight and tomorrow.
We will be tonight at Barnes & Noble's in Carrollwood. And then tomorrow we'll be at Costco and we'll be at Lifeway. Lifeway in the morning and Costco in the
No, I
afternoon.
think they're both afternoon.
Afternoon for both of them.
Tony, better be quiet.
Love
You're
to
only in
have
charge
you.
of special teams. Tony, be quiet. Tony, you're only in charge of kickoff return. Mama's in charge of it all. Now, can they go to CoachDungy.com or TeamDungy.com?
TeamDungy.com. Get all the details for everything that we're doing and more about our foundation.
Coach and Lauren, thank you so much for giving me a chance because I am kind of the bad guy. And thank you for giving
Kind
me
of.
Well, Dion did said, Sponge, don't make Tony mad. I'm just telling you right now. That's what he said to me. He goes, Sponge, you might want to back it down a notch with Coach T. I'm just telling you that right now. Was Dion, obviously, was he that good, Tony?
He was good and a very misunderstood guy. He was flashy and flamboyant, but a great teammate and, always enjoyed
And he's
being
doing
around.
some really good
He is
stuff
doing
right
some
now.
neat things,
He's
yeah.
really philanthropic. He's got that school, and he's just. And he tries to set me straight all the time. Sponge, I haven't heard that. I'm like, listen, Dion, I'm sorry. I mean, whatever. Hey, Coach, thank you so much. Lauren, you as well. And thank you for giving us a chance. And we look forward to promoting your newest, any books that you have out. And I'd like to get with your handlers and what have you, make a donation so that we can buy some more books for kids to hand out. And I really appreciate you guys coming and giving us a chance today.
Thank you so much.
Lauren and Tony Dungy. You can go to teamdungy.com for more information.